All right, we're starting. If you can please settle. All right, I will do that. Start. All right. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Bonjour. Bon dia. I tried. And welcome back from the tea break under the skies of the mother city. Cape Town is known as Mother City. I am sure that you're already feeling the warmth of the city. Mr. Yamato, who was in the panel and earlier, said that he's feeling very happy to be here in South Africa, specifically in Cape Town. And I know that when you eat mama's food, you feel happy. So welcome back to our second session. This is after the tea break. My name is Lisa Tele. I am a member of the South African Association of ATSEPs, and I am a co-pilot for the flight Ifatia, flight number 53. Don't worry, we are both captains in the flight. So you are safe, you're in safe hands. Before we start, I would like to remind you the song that was played earlier to celebrate ATSEPs Day. I captured one line of lyrics there. I'm not sure if you managed to capture, and it's sinking in. That says, as an ATSEP, you are the quiet spot in the silent, safe sky. So let that sink in and walk with pride, because that is who you are. Okay, before we start with the presentations for the session, I would like to call upon Engineer Godwin Balang to give us a very short presentation. Please welcome, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I feel really elated to be here. Good morning, Mr. President. Trust you had a good rest. Uh, we recognize, I recognize all the regional directors. It's great to be here. Um, about leaving back to Nigeria, so I requested for the floor, and it's going to be very quick. So I'm the director of Aerodrome and Airspace Standards. I'm really elated to be here. One, my background is avionics, so I specialize in airborne radio. So I really feel here at home. I mean, for the very first time, I'm meeting experts, you know, that deal with equipment, that the equipment I studied on the aircraft interact with. And I want to say, ASEP, I think, the world is somehow, the best things are free, like oxygen. And to be sincere, that is the way I see ASEP. The work you are doing is just like the oxygen of the aviation industry. And I'm really shocked. I went back to look at your website, and I saw that this is an organization that is actually just 1 year younger than me. So it's since 1971 that this organization was set up by the 10 European states. And I really want to recognize them. 55 years is many years. And I have learned so much within the very short time that I have been here. And I also noticed one of the things they wanted to achieve is the recognition of, of access, by national authorities and by international organizations. And here we are, 2025. Somehow that recognition it appears as if it should be, as if it's a struggle. And it should not be. I'm really shocked that ARCEP today is not considered in Annex 1, which was one of also the objectives of the founding fathers of this organization. I'm really shocked, because being an avionics engineer, we are required to be licensed. If I make a mistake on one equipment in the aircraft, it only affects that aircraft and probably any other person that the aircraft has an issue with. One error on a CNS equipment will affect everyone. Yes, this is massive. And I think we are not being treated fairly. And I think the reason is, by the virtue of being electronic engineers, we just focus on the board. That is the truth. And because we focus so much on the board, what we are doing is so important, but not recognized. I look at the membership of IFATSI, and I hope what I saw is not correct, especially from the corporate membership. Most of the OEMs that I know are not there. And I just hope I'm making a mistake. That probably have registered, but the website has not been updated. And if what I notice is correct, and if the website is correct, then I think one thing that we need to do immediately, we have to engage them, every single one of them, to enroll. Because, to be sincere, those are the people that determine what happens in the industry. I think there's no one that has more experience in terms of changes in innovation in aviation than ATSEP. Just think about it. From the Omegas to the VORs to the Lawrence to the DECA, just name them. We've witnessed so many changes than anyone else. So AI, not AI, to be sincere, is just another change. So you would expect by now we should be used to changes. We have to be used to it, you know, but we need to get those guys in because those are the guys that actually influence what we eventually use. And whether we like it or not, it will change. What will not change is the people will still be required, equipment will still be required, but we must stand up and play a role in determining the equipment that finally come in, whether it's AI or not. We need to get in. We need, yeah. I mean, we were limited to design on the floor, but now I think we can go into the AI, go where those designs take place and affect that change from there. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir, for that resounding message. Indeed, it was a brilliant concept for the people who gave birth to this idea of forming an association for ETSEPs. Indeed, the ETSEPs are the heartbeat of the aviation industry, specifically the provision of safety in the skies where we fly. So we thank you so much for that. And he gave us a framework of how we go about to include, to be inclusive. Everybody need to be included in order for us to move forward and have a standing organization. Thank you so much. Now we following with the presentations. There is a presentation that we'll be receiving from the Iran ETSEP Association, that is strengthening ETSEP professionalization, a comprehensive technical standards proposal for global aviation safety integration. And this presentation is going to be delivered by Senior Engineer Kave Parto. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Hello, dear colleagues and friends. I want to say one time more happy International ATSEP Days to all of dear colleagues, and also a special thanks for our colleagues in South Africa and IFATSI executive boards for giving us the chance for presenting and having us in this General Assembly. Okay. I make a comprehensive analysis on the ICAO document 10057 and broader ICAO standards. And I have identified 11 critical gaps that undermine both professional developments and operational safety. In this paper, we will go through these identified 11 criticals. You can see these 11 critical barriers in ATSEP professionalizations, and we will walk through to them in the next 15 minutes. Okay, the first one is the first barrier is ICAO Annex 1 licensing framework. I think it is known for all of us that currently ATSEP is licensing is excluded from Annex 1, but it has so many operational consequences due to these decisions. If you look at PowerPoint, we don't have any qualification requirements across the states. We don't have legal framework for license reciprocity, and as the result, inconsistent safety assurance across ANSPs. We have 6 volumes for CNS equipment standards, but for ATSEP personnel, we have zero standards, unfortunately. And the results, I think the system is now critical, but accepts are thinking they are interchangeable, and it's a big contradiction. In the last session, our colleagues speak about the evolving of AdSeps. We have the traffic growth challenges. They have implied that as the traffic growth is, we have traffic growth, we would have critical system requirements, and we need highly qualified AdSeps to maintain, install, and maybe modify or restore this equipment. So with the traffic growth, the AdSep professionalization also would be growth. Some of these critical points for infrastructures are remote tower. I think everybody in the here have heard about it. Remote tower virtual centers, space-based systems, system-wide integrations. ICAO now has ICNSS task force. It means we are moving to these items. Performance navigations, and the results is again ATSEP become more critical. Why ATSEP are invisible in safety cases? I think the main result is these items. The first of all is the preventive success. Thousands of our colleagues all over the world are doing their works best, and they cut before any failure. So they cannot see anything, what's the behind of the curtain or any other things. The other one is the attribution complexity. The main focus in each accident is placed on the controller and pilot responses, and they don't do too much about the root cause. The other one is the non-deterministic nature of ATSEP work, that it is uh, too much complex, and it cannot be modeled. Uh, and the other one is documentation gaps, but the gap, fortunately, I have attended in the safety committee, and they make a great work for getting and collecting the information from other countries. But it is biased to the equipment, not to the personnel. And what we lost due to this excluding ADSEP from Annex 1, we, if we have ADSEP in Annex 1, we would grant it reduced downtime, we would have reduced turnover, we would have reduced delay times, and so many beneficials for all our aviation ecosystem. The next barrier is again to document 10057. It was over this document, it has been mentioned that responsibility varies among states and ANSPs. So this particular statements allows the ANSPs unlimited fragmentations. And there is, due to this, there is no clear accountability if there is any incident or any accidents. And the authority boundaries also would be unclear, and the emergency response also could be inconsistent, and also fragmentation is driven by outsourcing, but I would imply it in the other slides. When they mentioned in ICAO 10057 that responsibility varies among states and ANSPs, uh, what we have, the reality is driven from outsourcing. And because they like to do outsourcings from the contractual scopes, but on the other hand, we would have fragments, holistic ADSEP roles, and in this way, ICAO document 10057 codifies fragmentations. We need a closed objective definition independent of organization in its structure. So the document 10057 should be updated from this point of view. The next barrier is no English language requirement. We have zero English requirements. I know in some countries, in some regions, maybe you have some of these, but it is not put it in ICAO documents. It is due to some regional or national rules. So if when we don't have any language requirements, we would have so many communication failures, especially during contingency or when we need to have communication between cross-border regions. The next one is the training focus. In the training focus, in phase 1 and 2, it was totally emphasized on university training and engineering. There is a very, very little about aviation CNS operations. If I want to speak more about it, when we have incompetent ADSEP, we would have system degradation, and the following step, we would have a safety risk in it. In document 10057, for phase 1 and 2, we have just basic engineering knowledge, but and they have shared some theoretical, not ADSEP specific, and we have missed so many critical competencies unique to aviations. We need to focus on aviation specific CNS maintenance skills, critical training, and also essentials like PBA. And also some other required training like file finding diagnosis, system restoration, prioritizations, emergency procedures in coordination with ATC, preventive maintenance, and performance monitoring, and multi-system integration. They should be put it in the training competencies. The next barrier is no mandatory OJT requirements. Again, in document 10057, in phase 4, OJT on the job training has been mentioned as be optional or reduced training. But we know that we don't need classroom education. We need operational competency. So ADSEP must train on actual systems under supervision. I think everybody knows that for ADCO now, document 10056 has 2 volumes, and one of them has been directly go to on-the-job training. And we should do this for ADSEP also. The next one that I would speak more about it in tomorrow, it is about the RF exposure protections for ADSEP. The ADSEP, due to the nature of their works, they are working in the region that the normal RF absorptions is beyond the public people, and they should be aware about it, and some points and some consideration should be taken account. The next barrier is non-medical surveillance. Unlike pilot and controllers, we don't have any medical fitness requirements internationally again. And we know that we need some special medical surveillance for ADSEP, and they should be fitted for their duty, and they should be assessed. So this is also another barrier. The next one, I think from the start of meeting, you have heard so many times about it, about the cybersecurity standards. There is no cybersecurity, but people or colleagues tell us that it would be updated in document 10057. But one thing that I want to point out now, what is happening in all of regions, they are DOS attacks. Maybe we know them as cybersecurity, but due to the nature that it is jamming and they polluted all of the spectrum, some other equipments also affected by this. We have so many times problems in DME systems, VR systems, and it was strange that what are they doing, and these types of protection or attacks are very strange. Barrier number 9 that I have speak about it, but I want to uh, open it more. It is outsourcing that is the main cause of fragmentations. We have a critical management principle. You should never outsource your core missions. What is the ANSP core missions? Ensure safe and efficient air traffic operations. And what is the role of CNS infrastructures? It is absolutely the central to the mission delivery. So outsourcing the ATSEP responsibility would have so many unknown effects, but according to so many managements, they say if you outsource, especially your core missions duties, you would have a higher incident rates. And it is not, I think, what we want and also ICO looking for. Barrier number 10 is no emergency response protocols. Again, there isn't any emergency procedures, written documents from ICO. It is vary across different ANSPs, and some ANSPs also doesn't account ATSEP, and they move by their own emergencies. And it would undermine the ATSEP role. The next barrier is unclear carrier progression. Again, we don't have a defined advancement structures or international recognition framework. And what we have high personnel turnover, unfortunately. We have loss of experienced personnel. They move to other industries, and we have no motivations for continuous development, and missing some instructor, examiner standards, and so on. Uh, uh, the barriers is now finished, but I want to emphasize that if we leave them and we take no action, we ignore them, what would be happen? What would be happen? It would be the cost of CNS disruption that would be around $2 billion, and also the continuity safety risk for CNS ANSP providing services. I want to emphasize that the time for action is now. If we want to have a safe and a good ecosystem in aviations, we should remove the contradictions in ICAO document 10057, and also include ATSEPs in Annex 1. And also, I want IFATC Managing Board to emphasize and clear the ATSEP critical safety role in aviation, global aviations, direct Consul to develop ATSEP licensing standards. Like Lutfor is here, we can ask him. Establish ATSEP standards panel under Air Navigation Commission. Amend Annex 1 to include ATSEP licensing requirements. And revise document 10057 to eliminate all of contradictions and define the role and mandate competency-based aviation-specific trainings. Thank you, dear colleague. Aviation treats CNS systems as critical. It's time to treat ATSEP as critical professionals with close, definitive roles. Thank you for attention. Is there any question?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parto. So we will take the questions after the three presentations. Thank you very much for that very, very key and important presentation, aligning us on the importance of ATSEP professionalization. With all those barriers, more than 10 barriers that you've identified, it's such a big gap. And there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. There's a lot of ground that still needs to be covered there. So it is clear that I'm happy that ICAO is here. I think he's taking a lot of things that he needs to go homework that he needs to go back home with. But my wish was that IATA was also here as well, because I think most of the points that you touched there, it's quite important that IATA takes these steps. It should align indeed what you mentioned, that we are faced with the traffic growth around the globe, and that requires ATSEP professionalization growth as well. So there should be an alignment there. But we hope that these conversations will reach the right people and move forward. Thank you so much. We move to the next presentation, ladies and gentlemen, which is a presentation on the WRC 27. WRC is the World Radio Conference, the ITU World Radio Conference 2027 preparation. And that will be delivered by ICAO Chief of CNS Section, Mr. Lofter Jonasson. Now, let me just tell you a story. I met Mr. Lofter 10 years ago, sorry, that was 2015. So I've been working with him. He was previously the secretary of the frequency spectrum panel within ICAO before he got the promotion where he is now, and as a South African panel member to the frequency spectrum panel of ICAO. That's when we met. Thank you so much. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Lisa, and happy ATSEP Day, everyone. On the previous presentation, I should perhaps mention that I noticed that IFACE is now finally, it looks like, making good progress. You have recently gotten an observer in the Air Navigation Commission. I think this is a very good step forward. And I would encourage you to seek membership in the CNS panels. And once you have established your presence, then things become much faster. Okay, let's get this going. So I don't think I need to tell anyone here about the large number of aeronautical radio comms, radio navigation, surveillance systems that are needed to provide functions critical for the safety of aviation. An average size commercial aircraft has about 30 antennas or more to provide for those functions. But that, of course, needs spectrum. This slide shows a rough overview of spectrum allocations for aeronautical safety services. I'm not going to go into that. Lots of detail here. The point that I want to make is that all of those frequency bands, they need to be protected and interference-free. However, all of those bands, they are adjacent to other services, such as high-power radio broadcast, cellular phone. If we lose access to a band, or if we get interference from an adjacent band, well, this implies loss of critical functions. All spectrum users, aviation included, are experiencing a constant and continuing increase in their use of spectrum. Increase in use leads to congestion. This in turn imposes the need for more efficient management of the resource by all users. Spectrum management is the combination of administrative and technical procedures. In other words, we are not talking about frequency channel management here. We are talking about the macroscopic level. This is needed to enable and ensure efficient and interference-free operation of the aeronautical radio services. So every industry has a propaganda slide when it comes to spectrum issues. Well, this is our customary propaganda slide, at least for now. Since the 1940s, the growth of the air transport industry has been consistent, approximately doubling in size every 15 years, defying all economic recessions, even the big COVID dip. As you can see now, it looks like it has, as of last year, it actually looks like it never happened. Well, you know this as well. The performance of air traffic management can be quantified in terms of performance-based navigation, required communication performance, required surveillance performance. Air traffic management depends on the performance of the CNS systems, which in turn are completely dependent upon the availability and access to frequency spectrum. This availability and access, however, is completely dependent on an outside program, outside of aviation, the ITU spectrum management process, including the World Radio Communication Conferences. This is a process run by regulators outside of aviation, but we need to be there. Aviation needs to participate on an even footing with all the other spectrum users. I can promise you that those other spectrum users, they are well represented in this process. The radio regulations are the prime spectrum management tool provided by the ITU. The radio regulations have an international treaty status and define all of the regulatory elements which are necessary for effective and efficient management of the usable frequency spectrum throughout the world. The radio regulations can only be amended by a World Radio Conference. In order to maintain access to aeronautical spectrum, we need to participate in the process of updating the ITU radio regulations. Aviation needs to develop and lobby for an aviation position. This slide gives a general overview of the ITU World Radio Communication Conferences. They are held every 4 years. The last one was in 2023. The main or only purpose of these conferences is to update the radio regulations. Due to the enormous pressure on the spectrum resource, the preparations for these conferences and the conferences themselves are run in a very structured manner. The agenda for the 2023 World Radio Conference was in fact agreed in minute detail at the previous conference in 2019. Aviation is just one of a large number of spectrum users, and as such, we cannot expect preferential treatment from the radio regulators. Aviation does not own spectrum. Like other users, we have to participate in this process and justify, defend, or protect our spectrum use. We make our case on true merit, like all the other spectrum users, whether they be maritime mobile radio broadcasters or the mobile phone service providers. So having a look back at the World Radio Conference in 2023. The continuous buildup of pressure on the limited spectrum resource can actually be measured in the number of participants to these conferences. Over the course of the last 20 years, the process has doubled. The WRC conferences, they have doubled in terms of participation. WRC 97 had 1,800 delegates. WRC 23 had 3,990 delegates. At times, there could be tens of meetings in parallel. 163 countries represented, similar number of other entities, UN agencies such as ICAO, international, regional, scientific, and industrial organizations, or even companies. Marathon sessions. For example, I remember one of the plenary meetings in the last week that I participated in. It ended after 3 a.m. in the morning, and then we continued 9 a.m. that same morning. This slide shows some WRC history in terms of aeronautical spectrum. For instance, 1947, we got the VHF and UHF allocations for services such as VHF COM, VOR, ILS, DME, radio altimeters, microwave landing system, or MLS. 1963, first satellite allocations. 1971, exclusive allocation for aeronautical mobile satellite safety communications. 1997, those exclusive allocations for aeronautical mobile safety communications, they were removed, they were taken away from us again. Since then, we have a priority in a certain band, but it's not exclusive to us anymore. 2012, MLS allocations, they were repurposed for remotely piloted aircraft systems, the C2 link, the command and control link, and for Aeromax. 2015, 1090 megahertz was allocated for reception by satellite for global flight tracking. 2019, we averted a push for all standards for the global aviation distress and safety system to have to be hosted in the radio regulations rather than ICAO SARPs. 2023, we got an allocation for space-based VHF. For 2027, we are fighting to keep the radio altimeters out of harm's way due to a push by the mobile phone industry. This slide includes the WRC 27 agenda. This conference is very unusual for aviation in that we actually don't have any aviation-specific items. That does not mean that it's not important. Several items can negatively affect aviation if the solution goes the wrong way. I have a few slides later on that, on those items that matter most to us. WRC 27 preparation cycle. I mentioned that the preparations are done in a very structured manner. Already at the last conference, we had the agenda for WRC 27 carved in stone. Conference preparatory meeting right after that previous conference, it delegated the required ITU preparatory studies to the various ITUR working parties. The main responsible working party for aviation is Working Party 5B. During this study cycle, due to the lack of specific aeronautical items and due to the mobile industries in the band adjacent to the radio altimeter band that I mentioned, this Working Party 5B now has little participation by aviation and has in essence been hijacked by the mobile industry. This, of course, is an encouragement for anyone here that can go and participate. We need you there, otherwise we are in trouble. Although we have no specific aeronautical safety items for WRC 27, this conference, as I said, is quite critical for us, as we need to safeguard and defend our continued access to spectrum. This slide indicates the main items of interest, most of them being defensive. In other words, where the outcome of WRC 27 may have negative results for aviation, where we may run into trouble with the protection of frequency bands used for aeronautical safety services. I will go into details about those now. So this is our main excitement. WRC 27, agenda item 1, compatibility studies that are taking place in national spectrum for the international mobile telecom industry in a number of frequency bands, including 4.4 to 4.8 gigahertz. The identification of this band to IMT is of major concern to the aviation community, as the adjacent band, here at 4.2 to 4.4 gigahertz, may be at a serious risk if the outcome of the agenda item does not protect our radio altimeters sufficiently. The radio altimeter, of course, is not something that you work with as ATSEPs. They are limited to the aircraft only, but they are a critical safety system that the only system that provides an actual measurement of the distance of the aircraft from ground. A primary radar that scans within the band 4.2 to 4 gigahertz and provides a Doppler measurement of the distance to the ground. It is used by critical aircraft functions such as the flight control system, automated landing, terrain awareness warning system, airborne collision avoidance systems, as well as wind shear detection and recovery applications. In the ongoing ITU preparatory studies now for this WRC agenda item, the IMT industry is currently blocking important aspects of the necessary sharing studies to take place. In essence, account is not being taken of the critical safety role of the radio altimeters during landing. This is basically due to the fact that there is insufficient support by aviation professionals in those studies, while the telecom industry, on the other hand, is well represented in the meetings and in the delegations of the national spectrum regulators. You will see here on this slide, this is Assembly 42, working paper 33 was specifically on this subject. And if you think you have the means of convincing your superiors to that you should go and help us with this fight, then this paper provides a good background. So I think I'm taking too much time, so I will go quickly through the rest. This agenda item is related to the previous one. However, with this one, the risk may rather be a future technical restrictions to the operation of the radio altimeters. This is about using Earth exploratory satellite service, passive, having that use that same frequency band to measure the temperature of the oceans. But in order for them to do so, they would rather not have much interference, not much else going on in the band, so it could affect us. WRC 27 agenda item 1.9. While this actually is not about an aviation safety band, it is about a band that can be used for aeronautical regularity of flight services, and it can be used to supplement the HF data link system that is used for aviation, and is an addition to a positive result that we got at the last conference, broadband services in HF. It's actually the only item that is slightly related to aviation. Solar events such as large solar flares, they can cause major disruptions to CNS, as we know. Hence, space weather observations, they are becoming more and more important to us for the detection of solar activity that can harmfully affect the operation of CNS systems. This item is in support of passive space weather sensors. However, the implementation of those should, of course, not impose technical or regulatory constraints on CNS systems. So this is one of those items where we just need to monitor and take care and support if it's going the right direction. One of our failures from the previous WRCs is to identify sufficient satellite communication spectrum for the ARPAS C2 link. Some of you may be familiar with ITU resolution 155, which was suppressed at the last WRC. It is now important for us to continue to seek satellite spectrum appropriate for the provision of safety service in support of the ARPAS C2 link. This slide is on the WRC preparations and gives some instruction on how best to be useful. At the national level, the aviation spectrum position needs to be coordinated or lobbied through your National Frequency Spectrum Authority. Aviation is just one of the many stakeholders who lobby for their attention. At the regional level, the National Spectrum Authorities, they coordinate their positions through the regional telecom organizations. For instance, for Africa, it is the African Telecommunication Union, who meets regularly in their preparations for WRC 27. At the regional level, each national delegation, it presents the common coordinated view of the country. Sometimes the common coordinated national view is not favorable to aviation. Inside each national delegation, you will usually find participation from many sectors of industry, hopefully also aviation. These participants, they lobby for the attention of the head of their delegation to influence the national position as the ongoing development of the regional coordination progresses. As the national view is typically based on divergent input views, it may easily evolve during the regional level discussions. For this reason, it is very important that aviation participates within the national delegations. ICAO is allowed to participate at regional meetings to introduce the ICAO position, but of course we are only observers. ITUR study groups and working parties. I mentioned Working Party 5B. They are the forum where international development and coordination takes place prior to World Radio conferences. Here, aviation may be represented in some national delegations. However, they may not be allowed to speak up in public forum, or they may not be allowed to speak up in support of the aviation position or the ICAO position. However, here ICAO is able to do a lot of work. We are usually there. And if you are there in your national delegation, then you can talk to us and we can coordinate and ICAO can speak up. This slide indicates which working parties are in the lead for each WRC 27 item of interest to aviation. For instance, you see there agenda item 1.7, it is Working Party 5D, which is the working party that takes care of the international mobile telecommunications. They are doing the studies, however, they rely on input from Working Party 5B, which is the one that aviation typically takes part in. As I mentioned earlier, now when they coordinate with Working Party 5B to get their opinion on radio altimeters, they get the answer back that they want because they are all there as well, and there is no aviation there. So we need your help. This slide you saw on Monday. This is one of my favorite slides, actually. This definition of radio frequency management. Radio frequency management is done by experts who meld years of experience with a curious blend of regulation, electronics, politics, and not a little bit of larceny. They justify requirements, horse trade, coerce, bluff, and gamble with an intuition that cannot be taught other than by long experience. Yes, in ITUR, the studies, They are all called technical studies. And you can have two entities do technical studies on the same, studying the same subject, and they can come to results that are tens of decibels apart. I have seen 120 decibels difference between studies that were supposed to be on the same thing. Assembly Resolution 42-7. This is what you can bring to your managers if you want to get justification to participate in the process. It instructs states in what they need to do to in terms of spectrum responsibilities. It highlights the necessity of efficient frequency management. It highlights the need for evolving long-term overall spectrum strategy. It urges that states support the ICAO position for the World Radio Communication Conferences. It makes a reference to our radio frequency handbook, Doc 9718, Volume 1. It urges states to ensure that not only state representatives, but also relevant aviation experts from the private sector participate in the development of states and regional position and development of aviation interest at ITU. It urges states to ensure that their delegation to regional conferences, ITU study groups, and World Radio conferences include civil aviation spectrum experts who are fully prepared to represent aviation interests. And my final slide, it urges states to actively engage with the radio regulatory authorities in order to incorporate aviation interest with other national interests, especially in preparation for and during ITU WRCs. Yes, we have the resolution. It has all the words, but we need states to enact it. And that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Lofter. We will take questions. I hope you've noted down questions. We will take questions after the three presentations. Thank you so much for all that information. I know it's very overwhelming. It's a lot to take in one day. Indeed, the ITU WRC processes are very, very coordinated, but very rigorous processes as well. The 4-year cycles between the World Radio Conferences from 2023 to 2027, it really feels like a very short time because there's a lot of work done, a lot of studies done in that period. But I would like to implore colleagues to, now I hear myself talking somewhere, to search for that document, the ICAO document 9718. Why am I hearing an echo? Okay, thank you. If you notice there, Mr. Lofter's title is CNSS. Now, ICAO used to recognize only CNS. It was recently, in the past few years, realized that spectrum is very, very important, and spectrum was then added. Now it's no longer just CNS, it's CNSS. And the ICAO document 9718 that contains spectrum strategies as well as the spectrum policy. If you get hold of that document, everyone can get hold of it through the internet. You can read it. It's a very lengthy document, but it contains most of the information that you'll get to understand about spectrum. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the spectrum is very, very important. It is like a heartbeat of CNS. You can have your radios sitting there, your radars, your navigational aids, but without spectrum, it is useless. It can just make those investments for millions or billions of rands. Without the protected frequency spectrum, it's very, very useless. I'm sure you've heard Mr. Lofter mentioning that we have to fight And it's not an understatement. Literally, we fight for the aviation spectrum to be available for us to provide a safety service to our customers, which are the airlines. Now we have a threat in South Africa. We have, in fact, globally, we have a threat, as Mr. Lofter has mentioned, that in most of the allocations for our CNS, IMT, which is the International Mobile Telecommunication, they want an allocation of those frequency bands that we use. And now it becomes a threat because they encroach to our systems. They operate in the adjacent bands or sometimes secondary to the same bands that are allocated to our systems. And that's where we have a problem. He particularly mentioned the agenda item that deals with radio altimeters, which is the spectrum between 2.2 to 2.4 gigahertz. That's where the radio altimeters are allocated. And that spectrum is in the C band. Now, if you operates not only radio altimeters, but the VSAT networks. Now, I want to bring a story that we need as African region, particularly. I think we need to thank Mr. Lofter, because when I started as a frequency spectrum management panel member in 2015, we had to deal with the agenda item of protecting the VSAT network's frequency spectrum against the allocation to mobile telecommunication operators, the IMT, the 5G, and all of that. Mr. Lofter played a very, very crucial role. He was, at that time, the secretary of the FSMP, and we had to literally fight for this. And we got to a resolution where we were granted, at the ITU level, ITU WRC, for the protection of that. So I think we need to give him a round of applause. And also in the ICAO document 9817, when I started at ICAO, there was no section for the VSATs. So we had to present papers in all the regions, being the Americas regions, the Asia Pacific, the European regions, and everywhere, to lobby and to get a buy-in for the global participants or the global people to support us as aviation for the C-band usage, for the C-band usage of spectrum for the VSAT networks. And that section was then afterwards added to that document 9817, which is the frequency spectrum handbook. So there's quite a lot of work that is going on there. You are encouraged indeed to participate. It's quite a lengthy, rigorous process, but as states, you're really encouraged to participate from the national level, from regional level, as well as international level, through the working groups, through the work that gets done through ICAO, through the work that gets done through ITU working parties. Please participate and get to understand this area. Thank you very much for your presentation. We now move over to our next presenter, who will be giving us her presentation online. And she's also from ICAO. She'll be presenting an ICAO roadmap for GNSS RFI resolution. And it's Mrs. Muna, Almadaf, Mrs. Muna Alnadaf. I must pronounce this one correctly with my South African accent. Mrs. Muna Alnadaf. She's an ATSEP from Jordan, but she'll be presenting online. Thank you very much. Do we have her?
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Please, over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'm going to present ICAO roadmap for GNSS RFI resolution. But before that, I would like to congratulate all of you. Happy International ATSEP Day. I wish to be with you, but I had another meeting, so I could not join you. but I really appreciate all the dedication and the professionalism you bring to keep our skies safe. So happy ATSIP Day. And with this good day, I'm going to present about important topic, a hot topic in ATSIP, which is GNSS RFI. So I'm going to give you some background first, then I'm going to present ICAO actions and activities. So GNSS, as you all know, stands for Global Navigation Satellite Systems. Am I clear? My voice is clear? Do you hear me?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you, Mona.
Yeah. So in this slide, you can see the definition of GNSS as outlined in Annex 10, Volume 1. So it's a worldwide position and time determination system that incorporates one core satellite constellation and aircraft receiver in addition to system integrity monitoring. As we all know, GNSS is part of what's so-called PNT. P stands for positioning, navigation, and timing. So GNSS provides mainly positioning and timing data. According to Annex 10 Volume 1, we have 4 core constellations that can provide, that are GNSS core constellation. We have GPS, the well-known one that is operated by US. GLONASS operated by Russia, Galileo is the European one, and BIDO is the Chinese one. These systems cannot meet some civil aviation performance requirement. Therefore, we need to have augmentation systems, and that can be in a form of 3 systems, either onboard aircraft, which is ABAS, or satellite-based augmentation system, ASPAS, like what we have today, EGNOS in Europe, and we have WAS in US, and many other places over the world. Also, GBAS is the ground-based augmentation system. As we know, GNSS is crucial for aviation, and it can be enabled for so that can increase the situational awareness for other aircraft, and also that can provide information for ATM ground system to maintain a separation between aircraft. Another important application for GNSS is safety net systems like terrain awareness system. Also, that system depends on GNSS positioning data. Search and rescue operation is another example that use also GNSS positioning data. As for the timing part of GNSS, it's crucial for clock synchronization between ground and airborne systems. So in summary, we can say that positioning data used for location and navigation, while timing data is used for synchronization and communication between different systems. So what is the benefit for GNSS? For many states, GNSS come with no cost. So it can enhance safety because it's an enabler for many safety net systems. Also, since it's an enabler for PPN, it can increase capacity, efficiency, and accuracy. Therefore, that can reduce the fuel consumption and also the cost, the flight time. All these benefits occurred with the implementation of PPN. Since it's provide also a global coverage, this is another advantage for GNSS over the conventional navigation facility. Now, when it comes to RFI, there are 2 known interference types. Here we are talking about intentional harmful interference. We have jamming and spoofing. And in this slide, you can see the definition of jamming and spoofing. So jamming is type of intentional interference that prevent receiver from looking into satellite signal. While spoofing is another type of intentional harmful interference that involve broadcasting of GNSS-like signal, causing the avionic or the receiver to calculate wrong position or location. So simply put, we can say jamming make receiver die, while spoofing make receiver lie. In this slide, I show you a heat map. This is not a new one, but just to show you how jamming is widespread across the globe. So here you can see this hexagon present number of jamming incidents. The redder the hexagon is, that mean that more jamming incident occurred in this area. And this detection tool, it depends on ADSB. That means that in reality there were maybe more jamming incidents, but that depends on the equipage of ADSB. So aircraft that are not equipped with ADSB, it might not be able to detect jamming. And also for areas that have no flight, maybe also like, for example, Syria and Middle East at that time, they had a lot of jamming and spoofing, but because there was no overflying, so jamming and spoofing could not be detected. So these two factors impact the accuracy of this detection map, but still that can give us a good idea about jamming worldwide. Another heat map here for spoofing, you can see number of spoofed aircraft inside the circle. We have like 1,800 aircraft were spoofed. And this also show how spoofing can impact large number of aircraft. This is a statistics for spoofing. You can see the significant increase in spoofing that all occurred after April last year. And I think since that, everyone became aware of this term, spoofing. If I had asked you before 2024, I believe a few might have been able to answer that. But now I believe all, if not all of you, are aware of jamming and spoofing term. So what is the ultimate potential consequences of jamming and spoofing? It can have significant impact. It can contribute to loss of control in a flight, control the flight into terrain, and mid-air collision. You know, these three critical events we have in ICAO, or not in ICAO, it's globally, we have global high category risk of occurrence. There are 5, and GNSS RFI can contribute to 3 of these 5 critical events. So within ICAO, GNSS RFI is a hot topic, and it has been a key topic of discussion for many ICAO events recently. One of these events is the 14th Air Navigation Conference that was held last year, and we have received many papers addressing GNSS RFI, and that emanated a recommendation 2.2/2 that entail a number of actions for states and similar for ICAO. So for state, we have noticed that despite the large amount of documentation developed by ICAO, international organization, and industry, still there are states have not yet implemented those measures. Therefore, we urge states to implement effective GNSS RFI mitigation measures. Also, we noticed during the conference that the state keep talking about NAVMON, the minimum network. We wanted to move from minimum to sufficient. Therefore, we stress that the state need to maintain sufficient network of conventional, not only minimum. And we had a lot of discussion and reporting procedure. Therefore, we agreed that this reporting procedure would be best be done at regional or national level to take into consideration local constraints, maybe the operational need, and other constraints within the region. And for AFI, for example, we have worked early this year in February with WACAF and ISAF colleagues during the workshop in Morocco. It was GNS radio navigation workshop. We worked with the workshop to draft a procedure for reporting that is going to be reviewed and adopted by the Berg or AFI Berg later this year, or I believe next year maybe. So for ICAO, we were requested also for a group of actions. I would like here to highlight the third one, which is developing further guidance on civil-military coordination related to RFI. This is an action currently tasked to ATM Ops. We know that early notification or beforehand notification provided from military side to civil side can reduce significantly the impact of RFI. That can allow the civil side to assess the impact of planned activity, maybe also coordinate with impacted party, be prepared for backup procedure, issue a NOTAM. All these actions can provide early notification to pilot and other stakeholders and can reduce the impact of RFI. Therefore, it's very important to have that civil-military cooperation whenever it's possible to have it. Another important forum was the 42nd session of ICAO Assembly that was conducted last month. Yeah, not last month. It was in September. Now we are in November. So we received also several papers addressing RFI, and the discussion resulted in updating ICAO Resolution 41-8, mainly Appendix C. This resolution is related to CNS ATM resiliency, and Appendix C is an ICAO policy on GNSS resilience. As you can see on the right side of the screen, I try to summarize the update. So we have several updates for operative clause. We have now a new operative clause on NAVRON. So as you can see on the screen, we have the word sufficient now is replaced by resilient. So as I said, we now move to something called NAVRON. This is a new concept that was introduced by ICAO recently. So we don't want to talk anymore about NAVRON. Our all efforts need to focus on NAVRON. I'm going to talk more about this in the coming slide. Another important operative clause, or we consider it a good achievement for ICAO, that we have this new operative clause encourage standardization bodies and industry to collaborate with ICAO in advancing PNT solution that align with ICAO activities or initiatives. So if you look at the older version of the resolution, you can find the definition of complementary PNT, where ICAO is invited to develop high-level principles around space and airborne infrastructure in a cooperative and collaborative manner to make the ANS or the GNSS services as robust as possible. So that definition, recently we translated into action, and we developed or drafted the concept for complementary PNT, but to secure also industry support, state support, other standardization bodies support, we added this operative clause as a high-level statement that can be used anytime to request their support and aligning their efforts with ICAO initiatives and efforts. And thus we can ensure successful implementation or deployment of complementary PNT once the standardization of that solution is completed. Another important aspect, which is about ownership of illegal transmitter like jammer and spoofer, We know that nowadays many marketplace online selling those transmitters, and even the techniques is available online how to use it. You have a very good example of a spoofer within your attendees. Lofter is the spoofer. He own one of these devices, and he also know the techniques how to spoof. He just do it for a try. He's not a spoofer. I don't want to give you false information, but you can ask him how easy to make that actions. And really, we need to take action against that. We need to have a strong enforcement to prohibit the purchase and use of illegal transmitter. And in this operative clause, we added two words, purchase and possession. So now purchase and possession of illegal transmitter should be also prohibited. But we know this is an ICAO resolution. It's not enough. We need to have other law or regulation in different levels to make it strongly prohibited. So I try to summarize or to go a little bit quickly. So for ICAO outreach, we believe that awareness is the first line of defense for this. Therefore, we have organized several workshops and symposia over the past 2 years. You can see on the left side, this is the first state letter that was circulated last year, including certain lists of recommendations. On the right side also, we published an important bulletin in recommended actions that emanated from several workshops and symposia, mainly the APAC Radio Navigation Symposium that was held in April this year. So I encourage all of you to have a look at this bulletin. It's really beneficial, and you can see many important actions the state need to implement. On another dimension, I can try to work with different UN agencies to strengthen our cooperation. So we published together a joint statement on the protection of GNSS with ITU and IMO. And that joint statement included 5 key actions to protect GNSS RFI from harmful interference, to maintain conventional infrastructure, enhance collaboration, reporting, and others. So also at the same time with ITU, we try to enhance the reporting procedure with ITU. So we reviewed to have access to this ITU platform that can allow to report to ITU through ICAO. So the normal procedure that the state need to resolve any incident following the routine international procedure outlined in ITU regulations. But in case that incident cannot be resolved through those routine, the state can escalate the issue to ITU through their national radio telecom. But with this access or with this new mechanism, a state can also report to ITU through ICAO, so that can provide us better monitoring and tracking for the issue. Here you can see a timeline for ICAO roadmap. We have actions, short-time actions and long-time actions. I didn't put all actions for the sake of time. So what we have for the short term is the IPAC. I'm going to talk about it in the coming slide. And also for the NOTAM code and text, we have done good progress in that. It's already completed, but we need to update the relevant procedure. We have another important technological enhancement we are working on, which is authentication. So we are working on SAPs to allow authentication of the core constellation Galileo and for ASBAS. So authentication would be one technique to counter spoofing, because authentication can allow the receiver to verify that the message received was generated by real GNSS and not a spoofer. Also for Navron, it's expected to complete the guidance material by beginning of 28. The work of authentication for Galileo and OSNMA is expected to be applicable in 2029 November. And also we have the complementary BNT. Those action is expected to finish in 2030. Another important aspect or technological enhancement, which is dual frequency multiple constellation. As you may be aware, Amendment 93 of Annex 10 Volume 1 already introduced that the FMC, but still at the aircraft side is not yet implemented. So it's expected that in 2032, aircraft will begin deploying the FMC. Just for your information, the FMC can provide some robustness for RFI if one frequency is jammed, so the other one can be used. But mainly the FMC can be a good effective measures to counter space, weather, and ionospheric impact. So for the IBAC, I will go quickly through that. We have implementation package for the short term to assist the state deploying necessary preventive and reactive measures. As I said, we noticed that many states have not yet implemented those measures, and if they need assistance, they can use this IPAC. So that can be developed or delivered by 2 or 3 subject matter experts that can work closely with the state and provide tailored assistance for states. Here, we talk quick about NAVRON. I'm sure many of you are thinking, what is the difference between MON and RON? So MON started during COVID. The state, as you may recall, tried to rationalize their navigation infrastructure to reduce the cost. So that at that time, that concept started, NAVMON. So for ICAO, we just made the definition on NAVMON and RON yesterday during the NSP panel. So MON means that you get to airport safely and land, while RON means to have a complete backup for PBN over GNSS. So in case GNSS disrupted due to jamming or spoofing, reversion services can be done through using the network, RON network. And we are going to provide further details in the coming days. I've tried to publish those definition over social media, maybe, or LinkedIn, because we are receiving many questions about that. Complementary BNT, as I already talked about it, simply to make it simple. Complementary BNT is integration of the 3 sensors on the ground, in space, and on board aircraft. And this concept allows mitigation and detection. So the receiver can cross-compare data received from all sensors and detect if GNSS is jammed or spoofed. Then, as a mitigation, it can use data from other 2 sensors. This is in summary. An important aspect for complementary PNT is to have an independent time source. We know that many applications using timing source in GNSS. So we want to have an alternative source to reduce also the impact of RFI on aviation. So key takeaway for this presentation, I believe the state need to prepare for RFI in a proactive manner rather than reactive. And for the short term, there is no solution for RFI. The state needs to implement operational mitigation measures to reduce the impact and likelihood of the RFI. And there is a need for strong policies and law enforcement measures to prohibit the import, export, manufacture, use, and ownership of illegal transmitters such as jammer and spoofer. And for RFI, we know it's a different job than dealing with conventional navigation. So ATSIB need to be equipped with the necessary skills to manage RFI incidents. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Anunada, for that presentation. Very, very informative, very packed with information. It's very interesting to find out that People who are doing jamming and spoofing for fun. Something that we think is very, very crucial, and they do it for fun. Radio frequency interference is very, very important, or rather non-interference to our radio frequency that we use. Now I'm distracted by the cake that I see coming in. But would like to take questions, just a few minutes before the cake. Yes, from the three presentations, I'm sure you have been noting your questions. So we'll take a very, very, very few minutes to have. You all have cake, don't worry. Let's have your questions first, then we can have cake.
Thank you, Mr. Lofter, for your presentation. I would like to speak about this crucial issue of management of the frequency spectrum, which become a threat, a crucial threat for the safety of the VHF communication. Based on my own experience that I want to share about the intermodulation interference. When we were installing the VHF communication at the tower at the airport of Kinshasa, Njili, the ATC controller starts listening about song, music on the tower frequency. I've recalled that it was our first time to face this kind of issues. And what I want to share with you is how I succeed to solve this problem, to fix it. I just take a radio receiver, and when this intermodulation interference start, and controller and pilot start to listening the song on the frequency, we scan all the FM frequency modulation with the radio receiver, and we found out which radio station was emitting on the tower frequency. And we succeed to fix the problem. And we approach our regulator in the country to shut down the radio broadcast station that I want to share with you.
Thank you. Mr. Lofter, you want to respond to that? May I request that the people who are posing questions, please stand up. Once you have the mic, please stand up. Mr. Lofter, over to you.
Yes, thank you. This is an excellent example of why we need to keep our communication channels open with the spectrum regulators, because they have the overall, or are supposed to have the overall vision of what stations are licensed, are in the air. While yes, we often have tools ourselves. We are ADCEPs. We know how to work spectrum analyzers and so on, but the radio regulators are the ones that really help keeping our bands interference free. That is one side of the equation. The other side of the equation is to keep them occupied to actually also defend our bands at the international level, and that is what my presentation was about, and that's where we also need to work with them.
Thank you, sir. Another question, this side, at the back. Thank you.
Good morning. The experience shared by the last but one speaker, I want to find out if there's any possible way of curtailing the problem without necessarily shutting down the radio station, because this interference comes not always, maybe once in a month or once in 2 months' time. So how do we solve that problem without necessarily shutting down the radio station? Thank you.
Was that for Mr. Lofter as well? For the gentleman from Iran? Oh, he's not here. All right, thank you. Can we take another question, please, at the back?
My to Mr. Lofter. Thanks so much for the elaborate presentation. My concern is on the issue of 5G, the C-band. We in Ghana, we've had over the past 6 months, we had a huge challenge on our BSAT network as a result of the allocation of the C-band to the telco operators to launch their C-band services, their 5G services. Yes, we are all concerned about the spectrum. Yes, I agree with you that we don't have superior power over the spectrum. I do agree with you. But I also want to bring a point that governments must also cooperate with the aviation industry in order for us to coexist. The C-band, the 5G dichotomy, is it the cost versus security, or is it the issue of profit? What is your take to yes, governments? Let me say that, especially that of Africa, because the C-band is of concern to us in Africa. Those of us who are operating the international business services, fixed satellite services, are mainly on the C-band, and it's of concern. We in Ghana, we were, forced to now migrate from a frequency that we were using for over 22 years. We were forced to move, not the invader, let me call that to speak, if I'm allowed to use the word. We were forced to migrate to another, to move up, so that the 5G operators can have their way. So what's your take to government and then the politicians, to be precise? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not quite sure where to get started on this one. Yes, the C-band fight was for VSAT was a very difficult one, and that is an issue that will never go away. That is an example of, well, the spectrum is just like the cake. It's a limited commodity, and the question is how you carve it up. And C-band has recently been, or for the last 10 plus years, it's been under pressure to be repurposed for other services, while the satellite services are being moved up. Problem is, with tropical climates, Ka/Ku band, well, they don't do so well. You need C-band, but this was a very difficult fight. Africa relies more on it than other regions. So yes, we were able to do a resolution, but yeah, there is also well, one of the difficulties was that the VSAT service users, they were not required to register. So the radio regulators, they are not necessarily aware of their presence or where they are operating. But spectrum issues are issues really often about politics. They are often about who has the ear of the radio regulator, we always need to be there. So this is a very good example of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I see no further hands. There's just one that popped up on the left-hand side. If you can please allow for that one. And I'm not sure whether it's a hand or there's two. So we'll allow for two questions and then we close the question and answer session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Petr Dvořák from Czech Republic. I have a question regarding the first presentation on the standardization of concepts in general, the global standardization for Mr. Kaveh. Thank you very much for the presentation. It was a great overview of all the different like barriers which we have and face. It would be nice to have the global standardization and global standards worldwide. But actually, we live in a real world, and we have different like national environments and organizational environments, and different ways of operations and so on. So I'm afraid at least some of these aspects which you raised are basically not able to standardize. So the question is like, don't you think that some level of flexibility is actually necessary for ANSPs to have in order to reflect these like national, cultural, whatever other differences which we have? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your notice. They are general, and I think, yes, you are right. Maybe some of them could have some flexibility, but the general points and the issues should be noticed, and they should be analyzed and take care about the safety issues for each of them. And if there is any possibility to make some minor changes, or maybe some of them needs too much notice, they become more enriched. It is different, but I just want to point out these items totally. Yes.
Thank you. We'll take the last question for this session. If you may please stand.
Oh, I should. My question is on the last, what do you call, presentation on the GNSS. Shouldn't we be focusing on more resilience on the terrestrial systems? Because most governments, what do you call this thing? They don't like global positioning systems. I understand that those satellite systems are free, but nothing free is actually free, basically. Shouldn't we, as an aviation industry, be focusing on the more resilient terrestrial systems? Because basically, you will have lots of states that wants to cut off the global positioning systems. That's why you have 4 of them on that network. Nobody trusts each other there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Alnadaf, if you may please take that one. Are you still online? It seems she's gone. Is there anyone who wants to respond to that? So, she's still there. All right, thank you. Please go ahead, ma'am. Volume, please.
Is it clear now?
Yes, it's now we can hear you.
Okay, please let me know if I am not clear. So thank you for the question. In ICAO, we are working into 2 directions. We work on resilient ground infrastructure. At the same time, we are working on mitigation measures and enhancement for the technology to continue using GNSS. So for the resilient infrastructure, as I presented, we are trying to enhance DME to make it enabling other PBN specifications. We know, for example, for RMB1, it can be done through GNSS only. So we are working on DME to enable that specification so that conventional navigation can provide similar performance level like GNSS. But we all know about the drawback using DME and its impact on the spectrum. So we are also working on enhancement of the DME in that term. And we might go to have some SARPs on a technology called enhanced DME, eDME. So we are working on conventional, but we should not forget the advantages of GNSS. Nowadays, all these states committed to provide those services with certain performance, and I think that is well established. So state need to make use of that. However, if states do not feel or if they are not willing to use satellite-based services, they can use their ground infrastructure. What we care is the performance level or the services should be enabled. So at the end, this is the discretion to choose the technology they wish to use. But for ICAO, we are working in all technologies, the ground and the space, trying to make it more resilient.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that closes our session of presentations. Thank you so much for listening and for the participation. And thank you so much from our presenters today. So as our culture in South Africa, we've got that small anyana gift for our presenter. Would like to call Mr. Kave Parto to come and receive his gift. Thank you. And we're not discriminating. Mr. Lofter has already received a gift, so he's already covered in that regard. Right, so now we're gonna move to lunch, but before that, I would like to make two announcements. The session after lunch is the Women's Committee working session. So there is an announcement that for that session, observers and allies are welcome to the first half of the meeting. So that is an announcement for the Women's Committee after lunch. But before lunch, we were requested to have a video. First, the cake cutting, and then there's a video from Eurocontrol that will play for the celebration of the ETSEP Day. So I would like to call the executive of EFATSIA.
Before you call the executive, let's go through some announcements.
Okay. You have them. Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, before the executive comes to the fore, there are some few more announcements for this afternoon. On Friday, there's an excursion around Cape Town. So if you want to be part of that, may you please go to the registration office during any break and register your name to be part of that excursion. And then number two, after the subcommittee of the women, at 3 o'clock, there are subcommittee working sessions that will be happening in the venues above that we used yesterday. That will be for the ATSEP training and competency, future systems, safety and human factors. And then later on, we'll have regional meetings wrap up for different regions, the African region, the American region, Asia Pacific, and the European one. And okay. And then later on this evening at 7:30, 19:30 sharp, we'll be hosting a gala dinner here. So meaning that there won't be anything happening between now and then. By the time we come at 7:30, this place will be completely transformed. The gala dinner is sponsored by Liano Tech, and the attire, I've been told it should be African. I can see some Africans already ready for that. And then if you cannot squeeze yourself an African attire, smart casual is also requested. Then I have the last personal request. Subu, you come in. Whilst we're busy, my youngest daughter was selected to be a prefect for her school next year. So for that, can you please give her a round of applause, and I'll send her the video. And she beautiful, 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 beautiful. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. On a lighter note, before the exec comes to the fore, I understand last year's function was in Vegas, right? And Vegas gave us a very important saying. You know the saying about Vegas? What happens in Vegas? Now I know there will be activities in the evening and for the rest of the time. So please let us ensure what happens in Cape Town remains in Cape Town. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been a wonderful audience. Please give yourself a round of applause and let us continue with the rest of the activities. The executive, may you please come forth for the cake. I almost got scared that we didn't deliver. Service delivery was going to cause a lot of havoc. Please come to the fore.
Yeah, it's time for cake. Please come, executives. Are we gonna sing or what's gonna happen?
We need to face the people and
When you cut, are we singing or what is happening?
we need to face the people and cut. So I think
Oh.
it needs to turn.
Let me announce for them to. Can 2 or 3 gentlemen please assist with moving the table a little bit? It's you and this. Oh. Oh, it's they always calling this number. It's fraud.
Yeah.
But my phone identifies them.
It should be 10.
President, let me do.
It should be 10. So I need to
You want to
say
speak?
some few things. Yes. Hello. On behalf of all of us, the executive board, the entire FASI members, please help me to extend our gratitude to the South African ATSEP and the ATNS for giving us this cake to celebrate with. Please, SASIPA, we thank you very much. ATNS, we thank you very much.
Stand like this. And then scooch it.
And you can type.
Sorry, please hold on. I have one request to make.
Anniversary Ifatia.
Miss Shoma is here, please. I invite you to join us. Shoma. Okay, so action time.
Action.
Action. Action. So we cut this cake in celebration of our indispensable hard work
Please stand up.
and service to the aviation industry.
Woo! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!
I really like safety and technology, and I think aviation is both.
Chose the outside profession is both. Chose the outside profession that both. Chose the outside profession that both.
Build, design, and maintain the infrastructure that thousands of people rely on.
There are systems that are constantly being upgraded. There are systems that are constantly being upgraded. There are systems that are constantly being upgraded
Hooray!
and behave differently.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen,
Fixing
it's
and
time for lunch.
diagnosing the problems
Oh,
on
the video is
this
still on.
safety-critical technology keeps the job exciting.
My favorite part of the job is the unpredictability. So as a system controller, you never know when a fault or a system issue might occur. So it's that constant readiness that keeps me engaged. And on top of that, I really enjoy the challenge of making decisions under time pressure.
It's about building something that matters, building something that's important, and building something that works.
I want to send my warm regards on the occasion of the ATSEP International Day to all of you. I want to assure you that we're going to work intensively to face all future challenges regarding safety, efficiency, and capacity. All the best and good luck.
From my side, thank you very much for this afternoon. And the lunch is served downstairs. Enjoy. Oh, upstairs. We are downstairs. We are downstairs, so you go up. Lunch is served. Enjoy mother's food. Bon appetit.
Fogless on the metro gate, a regional sun descends, different worlds we navigate.